I came back from that Texas comedy trip, and after like the Disney effect wore off, you know, like you go to an amusement park and you're all hype, and then you come home the first few hours, you're all still like coming down off a sugar high. Take the L, which is a lesson. We don't take losses. Whatever you consider to be a loss is only a fucking lesson to get you to your next win. How about that? How about you change your mentality, nigga? I don't know. I'm processing pain differently, if that makes sense. Do that to your moms or whatever, but don't. I'm also not recommending you do this. Jesus Christ. I'm just saying that's what I did, and I can see sound. Patrice said this all the time. If you have ethics in show business, you're dumb. In the States, everybody knew there was a thing. It's like, oh, there's one black comedian at a time at the top, whether it be Chappelle, Chris Rock, whatever the Eddie Murphy. There was always only one allowed. If you know the show MXC by how I just said it, then chances are you're in North America and you watched the show on like Spike TV in the 2000s. It was a Japanese game show with English voiceovers. I found out that Takeshi, who is actually this gentleman here, Takeshi Kitano, is a comedian, and this is Japan, mind you. So what I'm about to say culturally is insane with the whole revelation of social media and all that shit. That what people think a comedian is nowadays is not a comedian. People that think they're a comedian nowadays, most of y'all not a comedian. I won't go too far down this rabbit hole because again, trying to talk positive. Ha ha ha. There's still a lot of people out there that really do identify with this shit. Don't cross their paths because they'll make you look like an amateur.
Hey yo, it's Black Zeus, the podcast season 5. Welcome to the show where we talk about life, talk about the come up, and sometimes we fight. But in the end, it ain't a thing, cause we ain't trying to be right. We're just old new niggas with another podcast.
It's season 5, episode 30. I stumbled my toe on the desk, nigga. I feel like a zero, but I am my own hero. I don't need your approval. I'm on my own podcast, bitch. I'm in my own fucking studio. Okay, welcome back.
This is Black Zeus,
to
the
another
podcast season 5.
episode. Grrr, welcome back to the stew. It's just me, your boy Black Zeus, doing it to you right now. That sounded a little suspect. I'm not saying that like that, nigga. Give me a sec. Maybe I'll keep rhyming throughout the episode. What's going on, beautiful people? Welcome back to another episode of Black Zeus, the podcast, season 5, episode 30. 30. Shit. We're 3/5 of the way through of this season, which means we're 3/5 of the way through this year. That's a weird way to count how far along you are in the year, but that's what I did, nigga. Yeah, good energy. I'm gonna be honest with you guys right off the hop. Let's do a little housekeeping right now. Your boy Dante is not in the studio this week. My guy is out in the States celebrating familia stuffs. So salutes to the brother Dante. Look forward to having him back on the podcast next week. It's just your boy. Just me. Just Black Zeus. Wait, don't leave just yet, huh? I know we got Dante fans out there. They're like, no Dante this week. Fuck this nigga. Even though it's my channel and shit. Nigga! No, I'm very excited. I like this. I also like these vibes. If you've been around with the podcast for a while, there's not that many that have been here from the very beginning, but the ones that have been, I love y'all so much. Salutes to you, beautiful people. Salutes to all the beautiful people that have subscribed. You too can be a beautiful person. All you have to do is hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, leave a comment, do something that helps us fight Mr. Algorithm every day. Nickel. We're fighting just nickel every day. Nickel. Yeah. Help if you like. You know this content game is hard as shit. We're gonna talk about that this week on the podcast. Throwback style. I like these episodes a lot. I kinda miss the solo stuff. I might even find a reason to do more solo stuff in general. You know, we're gonna be really honest today. By we, I mean me, and by honest, I mean I'm gonna be somewhat critical of myself here, because let's just roll right off the top with this right now. Let's promote some shows, and then we'll get into comedy talk as always. I got a lot to run down this week. I've done quite a few shows. I got some to promote, like the Corner Comedy Club this Friday at 8. If you are listening to this on the day of release, then guess what? This Friday, I will be at the Corner Comedy Club downtown Toronto. That is Friday, August 23rd, 8 o'clock show. Catch your boy Black Zeus at the Corner Comedy Club. And also, I will be at London Yuck Yucks September 6th and 7th. That's Friday and Saturday. So the first weekend of September, I will be at London Yuck Yucks with the OG Jason Rouse closing it out. We got Brian O'Gorman coming out. We got Hannah Valdoon. It's going to be a fun-ass time. I'll be hosting. I haven't done the new Yucks Club in London yet since they left the Western Theatre ground, so I'm excited for that. Got some people out there. That's where I landed in Canada. So, you know, old stomping grounds. If you know anything about London, you should be praying for me. Because goddamn, nigga, your boy escaped. You ever watch the movie Get Out? Based on London. Not facts, but kind of facts. And then let's see what else to promote. I'm happy to announce that your boy is teaming up with Bambinos in Hamilton, Ontario, which is a brand new location / venue on James Street. In Hamilton, Ontario, right downtown, in the heart of Hamilton. And we will be premiering a brand new comedy series produced and hosted by yours truly, Comedy at Bambinos, taking place. You ready for this? Malachi! Friday the 13th. Comedy at Bambinos, hosted by Black Zeus at Bambinos on James Street. Why this is such a big deal? Because this is Super Crawl weekend. If you are not from Hamilton or the surrounding areas, then you probably obviously don't know what Super Crawl is, but you know what the idea is because guaranteed any major city around you does this. It's the annual street festival where they fucking shut down the streets for the whole weekend. They actually do this monthly, but not this big. This one, Super Crawl, is like the major one for Hamilton, and then Art Crawl is the monthly one. Art Crawl, they shut down specifically James Street between certain intersections from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m., okay? And then they just allow anybody and everybody to set up tables in the middle of the street, on the sidewalks, wherever, in between these certain intersections within those given times. And you're free to sell your art and all that stuff. They've been doing this for years. It's gotten so big that the monthly ones are starting to get as busy as that annual one, which is crazy. Like, what used to happen if you were an artist is, again, they block off the streets at 5 p.m. So the artist would show up around 4. Like, the last few years, obviously, you have to show up earlier and earlier to get a good spot because it's getting busier and busier. This last one I went to in August, or was it the June one? Yo, the vendors were setting up at 11 a.m. in the morning. And they were selling shit. I bought something, nigga. I was just on a walk with a homie. We walked down the neighborhood, and then all of a sudden, it's like, bam, there's vendors all over the place trying to get a good spot because you apparently have to get there at 11 a.m. in the morning now when the actual festivities don't officially start until 5 p.m. That's dedication. Salute to the small business and craftsmen's and women's and out there, and the they, thems, the them, the nigga, you feel like a pumpkin? Whatever, nigga. Shout out to all the pumpkin artists out there, my nigga. I'm so happy I decided to re-record this episode. Yes, I am re-recording this episode, and not even for the second time. I will get into that shortly. But again, Bambinos, Friday the 13th, September, the first day of Super Crawl. Make sure you're there. I got 2 shows for you at 7 o'clock and 10 p.m. The ticket link will be available shortly. It's not even going to be that expensive, but I'm going to have some great comics out from Toronto and some local acts. I will be rounding it out, and then we will be, you know, testing something new. Maybe your boy Black Zeus and Bambinos. Maybe we locked in right now. Maybe come support my niggas and niggettes. Come and support some live comedy, and if you're not around me to support me live, Keep supporting the show. Subscribe and hit like on all the fucking posts and comments and all that shit. But go support live comedy wherever you are. Go see live comedy. Go find where the good comics are. The good ones. And then report back in the comment section. Say, I found a good one right here. Shout them out, and then we'll fucking, I don't know, we'll turn this into something. But yeah, let's get right on into it, yo. This is the podcast that I started to be my side bitch, the side piece to my comedy career, a companion piece where I can be honest and authentic and give you guys a true in-depth look at what it is to be a comedian on the come up this day and age. I'm so grateful that I added Dante to the fold. Obviously, this nigga's not here right now. Fuck this nigga! No, I'm just joking. That was some Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type shit. I love this nigga. Fuck this nigga! Lots of N-words on this episode, eh? Dante's not around. Kenny Robinson isn't yelling in my head right now. I just showed, don't use that word, kid. But yeah, let's jump right into some honesty. I'm recording this. I think technically this would be the third time. So what happened was I recorded this a couple days ago. And my dumbass, I was high. Not gonna lie. I don't think it's a surprise. I was high. I'm high right now. But I let the weed kind of trickle off a bit. I kept a little bit. You can see the zaniness. My hands are moving. You can hear it in my voice. Ugh, lots of inflections. Ugh. Tell me when to go. Voices. Ugh. Yeah, I did this once. And the cameras were rolling. Man, I did the audio test and that was good. And I set up all my links. And I had the table all set up. And the cameras were focused. And your boy forgot to hit record on the actual episode. You nigga fucked up is what I'm trying to tell you right now. I fucked up. I recorded 45 minutes of good podcast. I'll say good. And then I said, fuck. And I literally, I'm not going to give you guys nothing. So I'm like, okay, let me just fucking eat that. Take the L, which is a lesson. We don't take losses. Really try and get this in your fucking mentality, my niggas. Because if you're struggling in life and you're looking at shit like wins and losses, ain't no losses. It's either wins and lessons. Lessons, that's it. Whatever you consider to be a loss is only a fucking lesson to get you to your next win. How about that, nigga? How about you change your mentality, nigga? I'm Black Yoda up in this bitch. There is no try. There is only do or not do. Which one are you doing? You're either doing it or you're not doing it. You're not trying. Because if you're trying, then you're doing it. You might not be doing it the best. You might not be breaking records. But if you're in the attempt of doing something, guess what that's called? Doing something.
Do or do not. There is no try.
I'll work on the Yoda. It sounded like I was drowning.
Do or do not.
I think the first one was better somehow. What the fuck just happened? So then I recorded this again, and guess what? I was to myself, I'm like, there's no way I'm going to give another 45 minutes here. And I did. I actually went longer. And it all went fine. I recorded it, audio, all that stuff, talked comedy for a good amount of time, got into some movie shit, which I'll actually probably get back into on this recording here. But as I'm editing the episode, I'm listening to myself. And I have no problem. Like, this is why I think it's so important to be honest with yourself, because then when you big yourself up, it's not ego, I can honestly say that this recording so far, it's only been 14 minutes. I have given so much more energy to this recording. Because being high is an excuse. Especially, I have learned this the hard way in comedy. At Nubian show, with Kenny yelling at me, "Are you high, kid? You better not be smoking that shit." Because he knows, bruh. Yeah, you know, and it's something that it took me a minute to really grasp. It's like, yeah, when you get high, obviously you're high, but bro, you know who really gets robbed when you're a performer and you get high? Unless you have to be hyper aware of it and counteract the fact that you're high. You know who really gets robbed? The audience, because they don't get the best version of you. And that's blah, blah. Especially for me coming up in the weed rooms. So having gotten really good in the weed rooms and then getting to this place in my smoking habits to where I was getting so high that it affected my energy levels on stage. People got weaker versions of my material, weaker versions of my personality, weaker versions of me on stage, point blank, period. And Kenny was the first one to really be like, yo, stop that. You're fucking up. And it's gotten really good. But there was a point where I was like, okay, I challenged myself here. Like my smoking habits aren't what they used to be anyways. So it's not even like they're as like when I first started comedy, I was smoking weed heavy. So I can imagine the hey yo, it's Black Zeus. Also, I fucking closed the door on my thumb. So I'm not happy about that. I'm a day removed from that. My thumb is black and blue and swollen. And that's also, side note, I had another realization with this kind of pain. There's really so many different types of pain, and it's all mental on how you choose to view the pain. Like it hurt, but for whatever reason, I saw it more as annoying than hurting. Does that make sense? Like, yeah, I knew it was throbbing and in pain and all that shit, but like, I don't know, I'm processing pain differently. If that makes sense, do DMT or mushrooms or acid or whatever. But don't. I'm also not recommending you do this. Jesus Christ. I'm just saying that's what I did. And I can see sound. Anyways, back to the comedy shit. So as I'm listening to the recording while I'm editing it, I'm just like... it's not resonating with me. Not even just the fact that I was audibly high and low energy. Probably also because I was having a very introspective day. And I've been in this mood as of late anyways, so it's not like that was a shock. But maybe when I recorded that episode, I was more introspective and reflective than most days in recent memory. And if you've been paying attention to this podcast, me saying I'm introspective and reflective should not be surprising to anybody. But hey, nigga, goofy motherfuckers can actually be calm and chill too. Guess what? It's two sides to the coin. And I would actually say that the calmness and the reflection and the meditation actually govern every other aspect of my being. It's because I take the time to reflect. It's because I take the time to meditate. It's because, especially as of late, I take the time to read not mindless shit. I've been reading a lot of the Tao Te Ching. You guys should look that up. If you're looking for some sort of meaningful literature, it's a book of poetry essentially. So don't think it's a story or a novel or even like a historical book, because I've been on that fucking tip too. Pause, hella pause, Jesus, double pause, yo. All the pauses. Can't even make you ruin my life. But no, it's a Taoist book. If you don't know what Taoism is, it's essentially it's like Buddhism, but it's not Buddhism. But like, if you have no idea what Taoism is, then that's probably the best way I can. It's a spiritual practice and way of life essentially. And this Tao Te Ching is literally just a book full of sayings. And I've been starting every day off with those. And I think what I actually need to get better at is my day meditations are great. My day reflections are great. I need to get better at nighttime. Because if you think you're going to bed and that's just it, you're going to dreamland, my nigga. This is a comedy podcast, so I'm going to keep it that way. But I'm sure some of you have had lucid dreams, moments where you've woken up in your dream and realized, been conscious of the fact that you're in a dream, but you're moving. You're like in control. Yeah, well, some niggas do that on the regular. And actually, weed suppresses this ability, by the way. If you're out there and you're wondering, my dreams aren't as heavy. Some people not. Some people still have heavy dreams. My dreams get affected. That's one of the main reasons why I love taking detoxes from weed. Getting away from comedy. Back to the comedy. Listening to the episode and listening to myself talk about comedy. As I'm editing this, I'm like, why am I focusing so much on like negative aspects of the game? Which, again, if you've been following this podcast for a while, there's tons of that already available. Now, since I've been back from the Texas comedy trip, a lot of things have happened. The biggest revelations, I think, have been, like, how do I even phrase this? Because I got into this on the episode that I didn't even like, but I think I focused too heavily on like what's wrong with the scene, or not necessarily the scene, but the industry. And you know, that's not even the right approach, I don't think. I know that's not the right approach, bro. So I want to kind of change my tune. I was wondering, I came here obviously with no script. It's a fucking podcast, but I was really wondering to myself, how honest do I get about what I'm actually experiencing? And the last episodes that I recorded, which ultimately didn't, like, you won't see them because this is already better and I'm saying what I want to say in a clearer way. But I just, you know, I am so grateful for what that trip did in terms of within 2 weeks of being in Texas, I had more opportunity and more connections and more just feeling like a part of comedy than in 13 years of doing it in Canada. But don't get it twisted. The fact that I've done it for 13 years in Canada was the reason I had such an amazing time in 2 weeks in the States. All that effort, time, focus, drive, and even though I wasn't my best version of myself as I was becoming each day, bro. Each day you become a better version of yourself. Or at least that should be that should be. Sure, you'll have dips. But if you're not taking your past life experiences and reflecting on them in the current moment to then try and assess, guide, move your future into a certain direction, then what the fuck are you doing, bro? You're just moving. You're a cog in a wheel, and you're probably caught up in some fucking type of depression or mental illness or something, you know? And that's why being so honest with yourself without being overly critical. Yes, being critical is important, but being overly critical is a burden. It's useless. What the fuck are you gonna beat yourself up over and over about something that happened in the past that cannot be changed, when what can be changed is your future through focusing on it in the present moment, nigga? This is the fucking, yo, nigga, yin yang, nigga. This is a comedy podcast. I'm not gonna get too far off the, but I think I just really want to fucking, I just want to balance things out more. How about that? And you know what? While I talk about this stuff, I'm just gonna play some video games. Dante's not here. We've been talking about video games a lot. I'm just gonna play Skate. Why not? While I just talk to y'all, because I should also be enjoying my time. And if it gets to the point where I am too distracted, then I apologize. I am playing Skate 2, the PS3 version. If you're an old head gamer like me, Skate 2, Skate 3, the best skateboard video games of all time. I also fucking, yeah, I said it, by the way. I grew up with the Tony Hawk games. Fuck those games. If you actually skateboard, then you won't say that. And I'm not even good at skateboarding, but I do skateboard somewhat. That was awful. I'm realizing too, I smashed my thumb and I can't really press the buttons. Like, I cannot really press the buttons. Let me get one run in. But I want to just change my tune, because how I've been talking hasn't caught up to how I've been living, if that makes sense. And this is like in all ways. I truly mean this. In all ways. On stage, I have caught up. But in terms of how I'm living personally and how I'm maneuvering, like on the podcast or any of these places, I feel like they're not in sync. And that's what I want to do more of. As I was editing that episode, I was like, why am I only speaking once again? Because God, I know. Bro, I know. I'm a broken record, nigga. You think I don't know I come on this podcast every goddamn week and talk about, like, this is the problems with the industry, this is what I've experienced and all that stuff? Because that is also a big part of why I started this podcast. I want to have an open dialogue. I want to give people an honest, in-depth look. I'll say this all the time. And now we've really locked into the fact that this is the YouTube channel now, I'm talking, is a comedy channel run by comedians for stand-up comedy fans, like legit ones. Whatever's happening right now, like comedy has gotten to such a point where people really think that comedy is either social media or Joe Rogan, you know? And there's so much more to that shit. And that's what I want to showcase. And initially, a lot of this started with me putting a spotlight on a lot of the shitty experiences I've had in the industry. I've been doing this for 13 years, which to me isn't actually that long, but when you tell people you've been doing something for 13 years, it is actually. I'm going to restart this challenge because, damn, my thumb hurts and I'm flopping all these runs. I think it's just time because myself personally, I have grown so much, you know? And I just don't want to spend time, or at least too much time, focusing on shitty aspects of things. I'd rather start spending some more time highlighting positive things. That's why you're starting to see the weekly commitment to releasing these interviews with comedians. That's why you're starting to see more of a commitment to regular comedy-specific content on the channel, as opposed to a wide array of stuff. We're being very deliberate about speaking more about comedy, about shedding more light on the breadth of comedy. And I was just like, bruh, I'm gonna put the video game down after I picked it up immediately. Let me do one more run. Ow, my fucking thumb. Yeah, what the fuck is the fun in just talking about the negative shit, you know? There's so much positive stuff that could also be highlighted. So, you know, just, this isn't a change of who I am, but this is me addressing that I haven't actually displayed the full breadth of how I am changing day to day. How about that? Yeah, that was some poetic shit right there. Because like I said earlier, you are not a complete version of yourself. With all the growth, with all the bro, because there's a life experience that'll happen to you tomorrow that you weren't prepared for, that will shift your perspective in some type of way. You're not your complete self until you're in your deathbed. And I want to start bringing that ideology into the podcast more. Maybe I'll even splice in some of last week's episode, but ultimately, like, I came back from that Texas comedy trip, and after, like, the Disney effect wore off, you know, like, you go to an amusement park and you're all hype, and then you come home the first few hours, you're all fucking still, like, coming down off of a sugar high. You ate all the fucking funnel cakes and you went on the roller coasters and you're just, and, like, yo, having experienced what I did in 2 weeks in Texas, like, I feel like I got to see the slums, and then doing things like opening for Russell Peters literally to me is like a place that I haven't reached before, you know? And that lets you see other places that you haven't reached before. Once you reach a new place, then all of a sudden you have a perspective from a higher viewpoint, and then all of a sudden you can see other things on the horizon, you know? And I didn't want to, I made sure to think about this, but I don't think I did a very good job. I didn't want to get dejected by coming back to Canada. And then, of course, it's summertime, so it's a slow time for comedy right now, and it is what it is. But thankfully, I'm plugged in enough that I'm keeping work consistent. But damn, bro, it's like you go into the promised land, and then you know you have to go back to your land. And in your land, your leader does blackface, and they treat your art form like nothing. They actually don't even acknowledge it as an art form. It's it can be a thing. But at the very same time, double side of the coin, it's the reason why I got so good. Like no other place, no other comedy scene in the world had a weed comedy scene like we did. And the weed comedy scene is, and I say this all the time, is the reason why I got so good. Because you can perform for people that drink and they'll laugh really easily, but they won't really take anything away. You perform for stoners, especially you guys know. If you're my audience, you smoke weed. But if you don't, people that smoke weed, when you laugh, it's a lot harder to make someone high in a comedy setting. Granted, not when you're watching a fucking stoner flick or whatever, but to make a room full of people laugh like a comedy club vibe in a stoner room where everybody's crushing vape bags into their face and all you hear is from the plastic bag and you hear coughing and some people are having a great time, but all the noises they've made are but when you get a room full of those people that go bah ha ha ha, you know you've done something right. And like I had years of that, and there's comedians that have never experienced that, and it shows. But yeah, yo, I'll play some more video games here while I talk some shit. I did some comedy shows, but nothing too crazy. So that'll pretty much be the comedy recap. I just want you guys to be prepped, and not be like, yo, Zeus, he switched up on us. Where's all the fucking curmudgeon shit, my nigga? It's like, well, to be perfectly honest, I'm not really a curmudgeon. And I'm not bitter. That's the important thing. Once I started hearing comics be like, oh, this bitter nigga over here, I'm like, what the fuck? Because it's weird. It is honestly weird to me how the second somebody starts to speak honestly about the conditions that everybody's experiencing, even though some people that are going through the same conditions that you're complaining about or shedding light on or whatever you want to look at it as, some people are prospering through that system. And it's usually those people that'll be like, yo, this bitter nigga over here. But bro, most people are struggling. Most people are suffering. Most people are under the thumb of the fucking shitty ass conditions that realistically we allow to happen to us. Let's be honest. If more of us actually were vocal and stuck together and weren't so egotistical about shit. But hey, this is show business. So realistically, I am the fucking dumb one here, saying what I'm saying. Patrice said this shit all the time, bro. If you have ethics in show business, you're dumb. If you have ethics, I'm not about this fucking weird stepping on other people to get what, bro. There's no one on this earth that can do what I do. Literally. What the fuck is the fear for me? But most people don't actually live like this. You know what I'm saying? Most people, like, let me put this in the perspective of a black comedian. When I first started in Canadian comedy, bro, I was like there was a few of us. Kenny talked about this before to me. When he started, there was no black comics. But like in the States, everybody knew there was a thing. It's like, oh, there's one black comedian at a time at the top. Whether it be Chappelle, Chris Rock, whatever the fuck, Eddie Murphy. There was always only one allowed. So think about that in the States. Think of how big the market is in the States. Now, take that to any other market, because everywhere has art, everywhere in the world, every country. The Canadian show business is so much smaller than America. Every sector of show business that is not American is smaller. Because guess what? America kind of invented this shit. They literally invented show business. It is their creation. And they have the population size. They are obviously the fucking place to be for anything. It's the place if you're trying to be in show business. But if they are saying that there's only one spot for a black comic at the top, imagine what the fuck's going on in a place like Canada or goddamn Norway or fucking South Africa. You know? It's even crazier. And then it creates even more lunacy, at least in my experience. Holy fuck. Canada 13 years ago, the comedy scene, everybody, like, it's like you had to have knives out. Nobody shared information. It's so much healthier now, and I truly believe that it's because the newer generations put a focus on mental health, and that's naturally going to seep into every aspect of life. So the newer breed of comics, all these younger comics and stuff, salutes to y'all, because y'all actually look out for each other. It's interesting. You just don't have the right information yet, but you'll get there, and once one of you do, the whole group of you guys will pop. It'll be fun to watch a whole generation of giving individuals actually like make something for themselves. But it was just so cutthroat. Nobody shared information. That it took me fucking 13 years to really see the promised land in 2 weeks in America, thanks to an OG of mine. So, you know, super interesting, but that's this week's fucking comedy recap. That's this week's fucking introspective, reflective, meditative comedy corner with Black Zeus. Let me get out of this video game real quick. I've already been going 35 minutes. Let's talk about some other shit. We've been talking comedy for 35 straight minutes, which is really good. Because this is a podcast run by comedians for comedy fans. Once again, hit the subscribe button if you do like. If you've been listening this long, then for sure hit that sub. What are you doing? Come on, my nigga. We fight Mr. Algorithm over here. It's going to be a lot of just close-ups this week. Going to keep editing easy for me. I'm looking into the main camera mostly. I'll look over here every once in a while. 36 minutes. I got to timestamp that. Yeah, yo, I've been getting into a lot of foreign film watching again. I've been really bored with what's taking place in North America in almost every aspect of entertainment, sports, all of it just bores me. It's the same old, same old. So, you know, I have a real love for foreign films. I love Korean films, Korean action films for some reason. I fucking love. But lately, I've been getting into Japanese films, and you know, I'm trying to stay away from the Kurosawa stuff because that's mainly what I know, the black and white like samurai stuff. So I've been getting into Yakuza. I watched a very good show on HBO called Tokyo Vice. It's only 2 seasons, but very well done. Focuses on what they say is a true story, and I looked into it. It is based on a true story. Essentially, a white American reporter ends up moving to Japan, working for the paper out there, and then like infiltrates the Yakuza and just gets in close with a bunch of them and shit. It's fucking wild. The show is really good. Ken Kudaragi's in it. Stellar Japanese actor. But I have been trying to learn more about the Yakuza films. I have a real interest in that shit. And a crazy Andy Kaufman-esque like connection was made in my mind. And when I like, it'll make sense in a bit, but I've talked about Andy Kaufman a bunch on this podcast. Huge influence of mine. Not just a comedian, but someone who's had influence on like so many aspects of my life growing up that I didn't realize until later, until I started learning more about him as a comedian. But understanding that he had a big impact on what the current state of like heels in wrestling, and a heel in wrestling is like the bad guy. But a comedian, Andy Kaufman, is largely responsible for what the modern day bad guys are modeled after. And I didn't learn, and I'm still a huge wrestling fan. Thankfully, wrestling's gotten good again. I won't talk about it anymore because I'll lose subscribers. But yeah, Andy Kaufman was doing wildly hilarious stuff in the field of comedy, and then just brought it into the world of wrestling. And so just kind of bled. Like Andy Kaufman, I just kept finding in all these different aspects of my life. And come find out, I used to watch this show called MXC, Most Extreme Elimination Challenge. And I always knew, like, if you know the show MXC by how I just said it, then chances are you're in North America and you watched the show on like Spike TV in the 2000s. That's what it was on. But if you noticed, obviously, that it was a Japanese game show with English voiceovers. I even knew back then that the Japanese game show was called Takeshi's Castle. In Europe, they kept the same name, Takeshi's Castle. So they aired the show with their own English voiceovers, because it was like British guys doing voiceovers there, and America got American guys. And then obviously Canada being America Junior, we just picked up what they were putting out. And this was one of my favorite shows growing up. I fucking loved MXC so much. All the characters, Kenny Blankenship, Guy Ledouche, these are all the American subtitle dubbed versions of the original characters. But Takeshi's Castle, what I didn't know, Takeshi was the guy. You're watching the Japanese show, and it's obviously English voiceovers, but you're watching the show like from Japan. So you're seeing all Japanese people compete, and you're seeing like the setup. So they even took like the characters that the Japanese game show had, and I don't even know their names other than Takeshi, who was the main guy. It was his castle, and they were all trying to get to the top of his castle, essentially. I found out that Takeshi, who is actually this gentleman here, Takeshi Kitano, is a comedian, a beloved Japanese comedian. He was so beloved, and this is Japan, mind you. So what I'm about to say culturally is fucking insane. He was the type of comedian which, if I was Japanese, I would 100% would be a Kitano fan. I'm a Kitano fan and I'm not Japanese, but I would love to actually see his stand-up if I could understand it. He was in the crowds, and I went like on an internet journey. I went down the wormhole. You know what I mean? I learned a lot about this guy in the last few days. He would go up on stage, and he would be so crude and crass, and just start like saying, like, "Go fuck yourselves," or "I'll fuck you," to like granny age women in the crowd and stuff. And this is Japan, super meek, super humble, super polite society. They loved this guy. He'd be like, "Fuck you, grandma," and they'd be like, "Oh." That was racist, but you know. They loved him. Very Andy Kaufman-esque. Very Andy Kaufman. I would imagine that this guy actually predates Andy Kaufman. He's older than Andy Kaufman. Andy Kaufman passed away, obviously, but so Kitano was a comedian. He was also an actor, writer, director, and is Japan's, or one of, if not the most prolific director, comedian in Japan. Known for a lot of Yakuza movies. The most famous of them being Sonatine, a movie I just discovered the other day. I'll play the trailer while I talk over it. This movie was fucking amazing. I honestly have to go back and watch it. I'm gonna pause the trailer for a second. If you can enjoy foreign films, check this shit out. If you don't mind reading subtitles, check this shit out. If you have not done that in your life, if you mainly watch the shit that is in your language, try and get out of your comfort zone. Don't even necessarily just start with this, because the Yakuza films might not be your thing. But look elsewhere, bro. The world is full of beautiful art. And shit, man. Especially in times like this where we're just regurgitating, here's fucking Shrek 4, Toy Story 5, and all this fucking bullshit, Matrix 4. Get out and go look at some older shit from elsewhere, you know? Because there's a lot of that. So the movie Sonatine is so beloved. I think Kitano is Quentin Tarantino's biggest inspiration. And there's another movie, a Japanese movie called Battle Royale, which if you've seen, you only need to watch the trailer to see how much that influenced so much of American pop culture and shit. The movie Battle Royale is based off of a manga, which is just Japanese comics. And again, I haven't read any of these or anything. This just went through my wormhole the other day, my journey. But essentially the government, and I started watching this movie, but I haven't finished it, so I can't speak to the whole thing. But the government is kidnapping ninth graders, putting them on an island and making them fight to the death for their life. Does that sound like Hunger Games? Huh? There's another thing that is super... Oh, fuck. Kill Bill. If you just watch the trailer for Battle Royale, you will immediately see like a million references that Kill Bill took from It. I can't say that It referenced Kill Bill because Quentin Tarantino literally said that that's his main inspiration for everything. Like this guy Sonatine is his favorite director, all this shit. Which, you know, whatever you think of Quentin Tarantino, his feet loving ass, and all his N-words in all his movies, and putting himself in his own movies to say the N-word. Weird flex. But can't lie, love a lot of his movies. This movie Sonatine, I'll go back to playing the trailer while I talk over it, is such a fucking dope, not just gangster movie, it's such an art house movie. Like, it's such an artistic movie. Dude, this guy's Takeshi, once again, the comedian, he's a painter too. Like, he directed and starred in this movie. It is fucking amazing. The tone shift, like, it, bro, it's not even a gangster movie the way you think of gangster movies. Because again, if you grew up only watching Western gangster movies, then you think pure action, fucking high pace, blood, gore, which there actually is a lot of blood and action, but the action isn't glorified like American movies glorify action. I swear to God, bro, there's a scene where like a nigga's just bleeding out in the back of a car and everybody's just sitting there like this. Yeah, yo, so we're gonna drop this guy off at the hospital and I'm actually thinking of retiring and stuff. But like, it makes sense for the movie. There's a reason why. And a lot of his stuff, Kitano, I'll say his full name once again. It's Takeshi Kitano. He's also known as Beat Takeshi in Japan. That's like a nickname or a moniker. Dude, this guy was so beloved as a comedian. And this is very Jim Carrey-esque, which again ties into the friggin' Andy Kaufman. But here's this book, the Jim Carrey's book, which I really have to read. Memoirs and Misinformation. Jim Carrey's book is so interesting to me. I started reading it. I made it like a couple chapters in, but I never finished it. Surprise, surprise. But essentially, it's half real, half is actual memoir, and half made up. And I'm pretty sure an influence of this book is Norm Macdonald's book, because Norm Macdonald also wrote a book which was all fake, like a completely fake memoir. But this is apparently half real, half fake. But it reflects something that Jim Carrey went through in his career, something I think most comedians... Here's the thing. Most good comedians are good comedians because they're better people. They're introspective. They're reflective. They're meditative. And I'm not saying these things because that's what I said I am earlier. But the reason that I got better as a comedian is because I started focusing on myself as a person. Straight up. No secret sauce to that shit. Work on your fucking traumas, as lame as that shit sounds. Fix yourself. Be a better person of yourself so you can get to the place where you're very honest with yourself without being overly critical. Because if you can get to that place, then you're really fucking invincible. You're not reliant on the world to give you feedback on who and what you are and how you should be and what you should be doing. It's fucked. When you have a solid base, you can do anything from a solid foundation. Anyways, back to Takeshi Kitano. He was so beloved as a comedian. And the first serious movie he did, where he played a serious role, he went to watch the premiere in a Japanese theater, and everybody knew and loved him so much as a comedian that as soon as his character would appear on screen throughout the entire film, anytime his character would pop up on screen, the audience would laugh instinctively. And it made him feel such a way that he didn't do comedy for years. He just stopped until people finally said, Takeshi's a serious guy. Because again, this nigga essentially birthed modern game shows. Takeshi's Castle went on to be the formula for every zany game show throughout the world. If you're in North America, you know it as Wipeout on ABC or whatever the fuck channel you get it on. It's all throughout. I think Australia has their own Wipeout. Europe has their own Wipeout. They just took Takeshi's Castle or MXC and they just rebranded it Wipeout because surprise, surprise, no original ideas. To be honest though, that shit is so funny. Like, let's actually, like, I'm going to play some of this in the background. I'm not going to put the audio on. Or maybe I should, bro. Fuck it. Because this is so funny to me. This is the actual Japanese version too, so I have no idea what the fuck's going on here. I love the Japanese language. Look at these niggas just have to climb a wall. It's all muddied up and shit, and some of them are actually athletic. So like there was a series of obstacles throughout the episode that you would have to go through. And then there was a bunch of characters that would come in between and narrate what was going on or set up the obstacles. I think, so again, this is the Japanese version, so I don't know what the fuck they're saying. But this guy right here in the safari outfit, he ended up getting named in English as Guy Ledouche.
Hello, Guy Ledouche here, and I'm the #1 correspondent. I just shit my pants. Okay, back to you.
Like, super 90s, 2000s cheesy fucking humor. Let's see if I can find some actual good... here's Kenny Blankenship. Let's see if I can find Takeshi. There's Takeshi, I think. Yeah, there's Takeshi in the red kimono. It's Takeshi. Here, Guy Ledouche. Let's listen to some Guy Ledouche here. Let's listen to some Guy Ledouche. This is only 39 seconds, so I think I can get away with this.
Hi, Guy here. Just back from my annual checkup where the doctors repeatedly probed me and discovered I had a kidney stone the size of a Super Bowl ring. Here's a diagram of my kidney and the gemstone, which I anticipate will pass slowly and painfully. I love the word painfully. And now to our games. The #1 game that will be... And then he trots over to...
Like, come on, bruh.
We'll end up making a big...
Come on, bruh. That shit is classic. If you grew up in the 2000s, you definitely have seen this show. And I love that type of shit. I love the fact that he was so beloved as a comedian, but he's an artist, bruh. That's why it's even hard for me to like identify as comedian anymore, because all of it is just expression. I am a comedian. You know, I take that back. I will die on that hill just because of what the term comedian is morphing into with the whole revelation of social media and all that shit. What people think a comedian is nowadays is not a comedian. People that think they're a comedian nowadays, most of y'all, not a comedian. I won't go too far down this rabbit hole because, again, trying to talk positive. Ha ha ha. There's still a lot of people out there that really do identify with this shit. Don't cross their paths because they'll make you look like an amateur. And yeah, yo, like, I watched the movie Sonatine, and I was so impressed. Like, visually gorgeous, colors beautiful. Bro. I love this type shit, bro. I love this type shit. The cinematography was, bro. It was hilarious to see how he found ways to sneak in comedy into this gangster movie. At one point, this one guy gets stabbed, but it's so like deadpan. But it's serious. Like, the situation's serious. The Yakuza is getting called up by the Oiban, which Oiban is like the godfather, essentially. So they're getting called up to another territory to help sort out this beef that's going on between these two clans. And so as they're having a meeting and they're being told that they need to go out and sort out this fucking, like, intermediate, they're told that they have to bring these new guys with them. And, like, these new recruits. And one of the older, like, the fucking what's the equivalent? What's the Italian mob equivalent? I don't know, but one of the OG gangsters, all right? He gets mad because he's like, we have to fucking bring these scrubs with us. We have to babysit these guys. And one of the new guys just deadpan. Everybody's deadpan and arguing. But it's weird the way people are arguing. Like, the way this movie is filmed is so interesting. It's not a gangster movie the way you would picture it in a Western sense. It's so much more like not glorifying the violence, but just kind of people are in the vicinity of violence. It's so interesting. And then the second half of the movie, complete tonal shift. Complete tonal shift. They end up on the beach, and then comedy ends up in the movie a lot more. But the guy that stabs him in such a way, and then the people's reaction is so hilarious and so deadpan. And then it cuts to everybody getting on a bus to travel to the region where they're supposed to go and be the intermediaries for this fucking fight between the two clans. And the guy that stabbed the guy is sitting on the bus next to the guy he stabbed, eating a popsicle. And they set up this popsicle thing before. They offered everybody popsicles. And he offers the guy who he stabbed, he's like, would you like a popsicle? He's like, you just fucking cut me and it still hurts very much. No. Like the way it all goes down is so hilariously funny to me and so Japanese. But yeah, I went down that rabbit hole, ended up discovering, wow, look at all these comedians that have so much fucking range. Who knew? The best comedians are also the best dramatic actors, the best writers, the best directors. I'm telling you, if you are an elite comedian, there is no art form you cannot master. That sounds biased because I'm in comedy. I'm not a painter, but I promise you, and I went to school for animation, not being able to draw. And by the time I left, I didn't complete the course. I left. I dropped out because I had found comedy by that point. But I passed all the courses. I did the year. I just didn't go back. I passed all the courses, and my drawing started getting exponentially better. Ain't nothing comedians can't do. Elite comedians. I'm gonna fucking wrap this episode up here. This is even longer than the other episodes. Crazy. What I will do though is I will do this week's poll question. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a regular recurring segment on the podcast we do here every week. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back, beautiful people. You too can be beautiful people. All you have to do is hit the subscribe button and leave a comment, hit the like button. Share a thing, help us fight Mr. Algorithm. That's it. You become a beautiful person because right now you looking kind of ugly. But yeah, every Monday on my Instagram story feed and on the community tab on YouTube, we post an interactive poll question. We leave it up for you guys to vote, and then we discuss the results here. Dante obviously isn't here right now, so this might not be as long of a poll result segment as normal, but still. This week's poll question. How much screen time do you have most days? And the options were 1 to 2 hours, 3 to 4 hours, and 5+ hours. The reason why I went with this poll question this week is because I used to pride myself on how little I would look at my phone. And a lot of that still kind of carries over in ways, probably not the best ways, honestly. I have slipped in my habits. I've gotten really bad. I see now really like this scroll thing, this doom scrolling thing is dangerous as fuck. Dangerous as fuck. You lose so much time doom scrolling. And when you look at it on a surface level, sure, it's just so like social media. I'm looking at stuff that is entertaining to me. I'm passing time. Bro, you are losing life. Straight up. No better way to put that shit. You are losing out on life when you doom scroll. And the part that you should really be factoring in is the fact that these aren't just, it's social media, yes, quote unquote, but it's actually social engineering. You got to remember that there's really smart people that get paid way more than us, that know how your brain works, that are conducting studies, that have eons of years of centuries of studies to go through, that are literally treating you like lab rats because we give them our fucking time and energy, plus they're looking at your camera, they're listening to your microphone if your permissions are set that way. Just imagine, bro. Like, what the fuck? And I've gotten really bad, although I'm still really good at, for some reason, not feeling pressure to reply right away. But I think I would rather feel pressure to reply quicker than to be doom scrolling, which is what happened. Somehow, somewhere along the way, the algorithm caught me, and once you get in that stream, it's hard to get the fuck out. Once you get caught in a current, bro, all of a sudden you're in the middle of the fucking ocean, and you're lucky if you find shore. It's tough. This doom scrolling shit is getting me. And I have to be more disciplined. Discipline is the fucking thing. That's part of the reason why I'm even recording this episode again and going even longer this time. Because I'm disciplined enough to know that, hey, that wasn't my best effort. Fucking, you got the time. Do it. Give it your best effort. It doesn't even like 1 million people won't listen to this episode, but I need to give the effort as if 1 million people are going to listen to this episode. Not even for the 1 million people, but for me. The fuck? What am I doing anything if I'm not going to do my best at it? I might as well not do it. Like it applies to comedy, it applies to real life. So my doom scrolling, I would say right now, I'm definitely over 2 hours. I would say I'm in the 3 to 4 hour category. Per day, looking at my phone, I probably lose at least 3 hours looking to my phone, which is fucking nuts. I'm disappointed in myself straight up. But saying this out loud is how you correct these mistakes, bro. And not actually being disappointed in myself. I say that, and to some degree it's true, but not to the degree where I'm mentally fucking deflated about it. I'm being honest about it, I'm addressing it, and getting back into those habits that when I was at my peak of not using this shit, bro, it was bliss. I was just more present and more aware of everything that I was doing, of all the spaces that I was in, of all the people that I was around. And that's how I want to live my life. I don't, like, this is part of the reason why I scrapped the last episode, but I spent too much time shitting on social media again. We already get it. We know. So spend more time focusing on the stuff that is beautiful about life. Social media sucks. I like this as a tagline. I've been saying this on stage, but I fucking hate social media, but I love you, you know? So that's what this is about now. I'm so happy you guys have been here. Let's get to the results. Once again, this week's poll question, how much screen time do you guys have most days? The options were 1 to 2 hours, 3 to 4 hours, or 5+ hours. And the results were 30% said 1 to 2 hours, 40% said 3 to 4 hours, and 30% said 5 hours. God damn, I'm actually shocked. I don't know how you do 5+ hours on the screen. Okay, if you're counting work, gotcha. If you're counting work, but if you're not counting work, that's freaky deaky to me. Your eyes must be just watery all the time, and your eyesight must be getting worse. Most of the people, but it's only a 10% difference. This is pretty much evenly split amongst the three options. Salutes to the 1 to 2 hour people. I'm trying to get back to that, and honestly, I'm trying to get back to 30 minutes. There's this phone that I really like the idea of, which I think Kendrick Lamar actually released, or he's part of the company that released these phones. And they're like basic phones. So they have like calling and texting. And I think that, and like, there's one other core feature, but there's no social media, there's no apps, there's no web browser. It's just a phone. And I don't know. Kind of looking at shit like that again. Obviously, I'm getting older. Young kids ain't about that shit. Or maybe they are, because that phone did sell out. But I would like, maybe we'll talk about that more on the next episode of the podcast. But I'm going to wrap it here right now. I love y'all. Once again, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. But if you've made it this far, you probably have. And I love you for it. Thank you so much. This has been Black Zeus, the podcast, season 5, episode 30. Dante should be back in the studio with me again next week to run things as normal. But until then, check me out on Instagram, TikTok, all that, whatever the fuck. I'm AKA Black Zeus, but this is the main space to be. We're rapidly changing what this channel is constantly, but the main takeaway is that this is a comedy channel run by comedians for comedy fans. And until next week, I love y'all. Peace, peace.
This is Black Zeus, the podcast, season 5.
I love y'all. Thank you for supporting. Once again, the Patreon is launched. If you do want to watch my comedy special right now, you can do so. It's only $10, and you can get it as part of the subscription fee. So, like, if you subscribe to the Patreon, you can get it that way, or you can just buy it outright for $10 that way. Once again, for transparency, I will release the comedy special for free on the YouTube once we hit 1,000 subscribers. So you can also just hit the subscriber button and just do that. You can support that way, whichever way you want to support. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, all that. I don't necessarily use it the way everybody else does, but I'm there if you want to find me. AKA Black Zeus is the person to find on those platforms.